Hello and welcome back everyone to Adobe Live from the Sofa. And today is a very, very special stream. It's the first UI UX stream. It's our 23rd stream here in the UK since Rufus has brought Adobe Live to the UK. And today is our first UX UI stream with Julian. Welcome, Julian. Nice to see you virtually.
Hello.
And of course, hi to the community. If you guys do have any questions today, we're talking business because it's all about UX and UI. And of course, Emma, our new community manager. Welcome, Emma. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm very well. I know how excited you are about today's session. So I'm super keen to see what you have in store, Julian. And we're dipping our toe into the UX UI world. So welcome, everyone.
So I did meet Julian at an event and I saw his incredible work, or some of his incredible work. And I'm really glad we got him for our live stream today. But Julian, introduce yourself. Like, how long have you been a UX designer for? Where did you start? How did you start? Tell us your life.
So it's a bit of a weird story, to be honest. It was more about like finding myself. So initially I studied material science and engineering, but didn't really like it. So I switched to computer science. I liked it a bit more, but not really that much. But I had a thing for design, and I was lucky enough to have a chance with Barclays. So they were conducting an accelerator program live with Techstars in Cape Town, South Africa. And they would bring in like the 10 most innovative startups in fintech to their offices in Cape Town. And instead of having those companies bringing in like an extra set of skills, so like hiring new team members, they hired associates. So design associate, business, and so on. And I was design associate there. So I got to work with those 10 teams on 10 different products, which was very exciting. But the thing is, working with early stage startups, like I could have started Bug and I wanted to create my own startup. So I was like, maybe actually I want to be an entrepreneur, you know. And I created a startup in online dating and it went really well, but we didn't manage to secure the next round of funding. So, well, we had an app, 20,000 users, but from a UX perspective, what I was very proud of is I managed to fix the problem of dating apps. So instead of having all those apps that gives you matches, I managed to give you dates. So that was the biggest achievement, increasing the conversion rate from a match to an actual date. And then at that point, I realized that actually what I want to do is more design and, you know, helping people. So I went back to the UK and I started working with Orange, really great projects. But then I switched and now I'm working for the National Lottery. So if you've played the Euro Millions, Lotto and all these games, that is it. And I just love what I'm doing every single day now, which is UI, UX. It's all about this.
Exciting journey. And what keeps you inspired these days during lockdown?
It's all about the care for users, to be honest. It's when you have this deep down inside you, like you want to create products that users are going to absolutely love because it is actually solving the real problem that they have. This makes you happy.
Definitely. But let's start with the difference between UX and UI, because I guess that's a good point to start with for our community out there.
Yes, we already have questions. Jackie's asking what it even stands for. So can we start from the basics, introduce the whole concept behind it?
So UI stands for user interface. This is what you see on the screen. This is the beautiful designs and so on. UX stands for user experience. This is what you're going to feel when you actually use the product. So this is the main difference. So UI is part of UX, but you can see it as, you know, like UX is the whole logic, the whole functional aspect of the product. And UI is what you interact with. This is the what comes on top of it. So this is, you know, the beautiful colors, the whole layouts and so on.
Definitely. And UX is also, it's bigger than most people think because it also includes the entire research before you even get started to build an app.
Exactly, because the question is not, it's not like, okay, we have to build an app. The question is, okay, what do users need? So it's a full, something that is called the UX process, whereby you research the user need to really understand and resonate with what they want. And then based on all this research, you know, you just like put it together, you analyze it, and you really find that need. Once you define that need, it's time to, you know, ideate on potential routes to solve that that need. So this is the third phase. And then, you know, you you start like exploring solutions, you try, you test, you get feedback, you make some amendments and so on, and then you deliver the final product.
And I know you do have a project that you could show as an example, how you got started with UX research and how it turned into user interface at some point, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Can we check your screen?
So some of you, probably a lot of you may know about Trivago, some may have used it. And the project here was, to apply the UX process to solve one problem. So can you see my screen right now?
Yep.
All good.
Great. So the idea is, on Trivago, you can search for a hotel, and you have different filters, and you do have this category right here, which is more filters. And the idea here was, how can we make this more useful for users? Because it is jam-packed with a lot of options to really be able to book the holidays of your dreams based on all the things that you need for that holiday. And the thing is, how do you improve that one? Because it's kind of, a bit hidden here, and then you have so much going on. So just like we mentioned earlier, the design process, which is, it starts off with a challenge, something that we want to solve. You discover what the problem is, then you define it, you develop multiple solutions, and then you deliver the right solution. So this is what it is all about. And before you do anything in UX, you have to research. So you do some competitive benchmarks. So what I did here, for example, was understand, how do people actually search for something online? Not just for a hotel, but search for something. So I went to, so this is Trivago, but I also looked at how Amazon does it, how Expedia does it, how TripAdvisor, and so on. Because the idea is, how does everyone cope with having filters for you to fine-tune your search? And what I noticed from TripAdvisor, for example, is that they have two main sections. They have like a vertical bar of primary filters and a secondary one with secondary filters. And as you scroll down, you're going to see more and more filters. So you don't get to have everything at once. Trivago, on the other hand, has a different approach, which is you have some primary filters at the top. Then you have some secondary filters right at the bottom. So the primary filters are the destination, check-in, check-out, and so on. Then you have secondary, which is a little bit less important, but still important. It's price per night, accommodation, guest rating. And then the third type of filters, which is the more filters, and that has all the options. So this is like a general website audit of the interface. Obviously, websites are to be used on multiple platforms. So you have what you see on your computer, but you also have what you see on your phone. So which is the mobile version of the website, or mobile web. Again, I looked at how different players perform the search on mobile, because obviously when you have less screen estate, you have to think things differently in order to accommodate still the same options, but without cramming too much on one screen. So after this, what I did was conduct some usability testing. So it's all about understanding how users perform the actions that we ask them to do. So how does a random user on Trivago, for example, go about booking a hotel on the platform? That was the question. So you have multiple tools for this. One that I use in this instance was usertesting.com. And the way it works is the UX designer designs a test plan. It sends it over to testees. So it can be anyone. So anyone can just sign up for the platform and get paid to do the test. And the idea is, what I get as a designer is basically a recording of the user session. So like you trying out the product that I've asked you to try out, following the tasks that I've given you, and a voiceover. So you're going to be speaking out your mind as well about your experience and how you think about the task. So this gives you a lot of valuable information for you to work on and understand, what is the star experience? What are some of the challenges, some of the pain points that you may observe that people may have expressed? And then we're going to be thinking about how we can solve these problems. Because UX and product design in general is all about, understanding the user needs, the user problems, and finding the best solution that aligns with the business objective as well. It's about finding the right balance for both.
And
So
very
in this,
important in user testing is also that most designers, especially when I went to university, students always ask, what do you think about it? How do you find it? Do you think it's pretty? And that's not a question for usability testing. You always have to phrase your question. What do you see on the screen? What do you think you can do on this screen? How would you do it? And things like that. So these are the type of questions you ask in usability testing, right?
exactly, because you're not, at this point, we're not interested in, like, oh, do you like the colors? Or, oh, do you like, no, it's all about, your experience with performing a task. So you want to book a hotel room, right? Okay, did you find it easy? Did you manage to find everything you wanted to find? So in this scenario, what I asked was, so this is the test plan. So you and your family are really excited about your coming holiday. So you set up, the mood. As part of this task, please do not click on the view deal option because it takes you away from the website. That's not what we want. So you will be traveling, and this is where I give a list of parameters that I want users to search within the More Filters tab without asking them specifically, go there and do this. So you are traveling with your partner, so 2 people, and your 2 children plus 2. So it's going to be family. So you want to find something that is family friendly, ideally. So ideally, you're looking for hotels with some sort of activities for the kids. Also, since your parents won't be able to look after your dog, you are also going to be bringing it with you. So obviously, you're going to look for an hotel that accepts pets. And at some point during your stay, you will be looking to have a spa day. So these are all the things that you want. And the task was, please show how you would go about finding a perfect hotel deal on the platform. And I got several users to just like go around and, talk about their experience and how they would do this. So I gave them one typical holiday. So it's going to be the Bahamas because it's cool. Gave them some random dates, and I let them do the test. So they would go here and they would try, for example, so I have kids. I'm going to type kids, for example, and I see kids club. Great. I'm going to select that. Then it's going to update the search results down there. I want to do something else. Say I want to have family friendly. Great. I'm going to toggle that one on, etc., etc. And the audience that I got consisted of 2 different sets of 10 users, 5 on desktop and 5 on mobile, because I wanted to test both experiences. And I took a very wide age range, between 25 and 65 years old, people located in the UK specifically.
And Julian, there's a question about this already in the chat, but how do you address user kind of knowledge and education in terms of features and tech abilities, which is what Sandrine is asking, saying, there's some features that she doesn't know about and she doesn't necessarily feel like she, someone of a different age, since this is one you're mentioning, might not be aware of that. So how do you manage and kind of put yourself in your audience's, world to understand that some of them might not kind of react the same way to that user experience?
So it really depends basically who your target user is, first of all. In the case of Trivago, it's a bit wider because anyone can be a customer, anyone can book a holiday. So in the case of Trivago, you want to design, have a very inclusive design that is easy to use by almost anyone. I cannot predict that all the features are going to be discovered in the way that I want them to be discovered. And this is why we do usability testing, because the idea is not to anticipate, it's not to predict how people are going to use it. It's to just propose an experience, test it, and see if it performs as you expect. If it doesn't, great. You've gotten some feedback. You go back to the drawing board, you make the amendments, and you test again. And you do this until it ends up working. And once you get the product that performs as much as you want, well, you're good to go. So it's very important, to define some objectives before you start designing. You have a starting point. Great. This is the starting point. These are the pain points. This is where we start from.
Yeah.
What do we want? Where do we want to be? Where do we want to get? So what is the objective? And what are the benefits that the business is going to get from this as well?
And is there any kind of loop as well, in the sense that might change, right? What is your objective? Maybe 1 year down the line, would you have to do these user testing again? Or how does that kind of plan and work out?
Well, nothing's set in stone. So the idea is you have to keep evolving. You have to keep changing because the market is evolving. The need is evolving. So if you just say, right, I found the right answer to this problem, and you just stop it at time T, you're wrong. because 6 months down the line, you don't know what's going to happen. We know, let's face it,
Literally right
2020
now.
has been a lot of.
Trivago is a very interesting product to pick today.
Exactly,
You're very
yes.
cheeky.
It's just to show that the future is bright, and we're going to be
Yeah.
using it hopefully very soon. But yeah, that's the idea. Keep listening, keep being, keep this active market watch to see how people are evolving, how people's needs are changing, and be able to, at some point, you want to be able to anticipate that need by observing the market, observing the direction it's taking. You're able to at some point be able to say, right, this is where we're trying to go. This is where the market would be, because the idea is, by the time you do your designs, and then you do all your testing, and then it goes to engineering, and they start building it, and then it goes into production. Well, a lot of time has there's been a lot of time. So the
what is
idea
this actual time frame in terms of this process?
I
suppose it's very different from one environment.
Yes, it really depends. It really depends, because some businesses are more heavily regulated than others, so you have more rounds of checks along the way. So it really depends. And when a feature has been first pitched, for example, say we want to have this new feature, great. Maybe like 3, 4, 5 months later, if it's a bigger product, it will be live. It really depends. It depends on the priority, on the backlog, and so on.
I always explain UX with the infinity loop, because it's a never-ending process, and you always have to start UX. As I said before, we're talking business. You always have to think of the stereotype user or user group first. This is what you put first, and then this is your first round. So I guess you would have gathered data of how old these people are, where they live, the majority of them, and then you start with the stereotype group. And then once you have done that round of usability testing and stuff with them, then you would add up another layer with a minority group, and so on and so on, and test it over and over again. That's why it's this infinite loop. Basically, you have to start somewhere, you have to get it tested, you have to see, is it valid, and if your hypothesis is valid with the majority of people, with the stereotype of people, then you have a fair point that it will work for the others as well. But then you have to figure out, how do I make it work for the others? So it's not like a book. It's not like graphic design where you write your book and then you print it and that's it. Like, it's constantly changing. That's why you have to update your apps all the time.
Exactly. And the thing is, you will, no matter how much experience you have, you can be like 30 years in UX, you will still be amazed and surprised at how people will find creative ways of using your product. Definitely. Ways that you think it's impossible to think about using it this way. Definitely. Because there's like a lot of convention. It's just crazy. So, you do user testing, and if you find one person misusing your product, this is where you're like, right, if that one person misused it, there might be, out of a sample of like 10, 20 people, well, there might be like hundreds more, thousands more, depending on the scale of the product. So even if one person is having the wrong behavior, well, you may want to reconsider and do some tweaks and amendments to what you've just designed. And what you mentioned is very interesting as well, because, you design for the majority, first of all, but then you also have to realize that not everybody, sees and experiences your product the same. And I'm talking about accessibility designs. So you have people that have, for example, vision impairment. They don't see the colors the same way that you do. So if you don't have the right color contrast, maybe, some elements on the screen will be invisible to them. So it's very interesting, to put yourselves in the shoes of who is going to be using your product. And even if you have like a very target demographic of users, well, you also have accessibility that kicks in as well, because people that need accessibility design are within that very same group of users. So you also need to cater for everyone.
So it's interesting as well, because maybe the idea of wrong behavior is only our perspective, right? Because the wrong behavior someone takes is probably very right for them. So that was intuitive for them to use that in a certain way. So the accessibility piece is really, really interesting as well, because for them, that's just the way they feel they should be using it. So who is to say this is wrong or right as well? But it's just not the intended, I guess, purpose you had in mind as a designer, or yeah.
Well, just a quick one there. So there's what I mean by accessible design is not how easy it is to use.
Yeah.
This is usability. What I mean by accessible is, you know, it's just about like the color contrast, or people that, for example, use a screen reader to go through the elements of the screen. So you have to make sure that, you know, the website, the product you design is manageable, is usable by everyone, even people that have some challenges in viewing everything on the screen, or any other kind of challenge.
I did work with people with disabilities before in my previous job before Adobe a lot. And I came to the conclusion where I always say, not the people are disabled, our systems are disabled, and we have to enable them for them.
Exactly. We as designers have to be enablers. And this is all part of the inclusive design. Yeah. For example, when I was working in with Barclays, we worked on a wallet app for people with cognitive challenges, so namely autism. And the idea is, that's a quick story. So people that have autism don't grasp the value of money. So £5 is the same as £50. So they can just go, imagine you have your child going to the grocery store, and they would pay for a pack of chewing gum, which is £1, and they would give a £50 note and not expect anything back, because they don't understand the value of money. All those papers are the same. All those coins are the same to them. So it was about, you know, observing how they work out with money. So there was a coffee there, which was employing specifically people that were that had autism. So it was very interesting to see how they deal with the transaction at the end, how they deal with the customers, and so on. That was part of the research. And then how do you enable them with this app and give them this autonomy? So, you know, as a parent, it's this beautiful thing of having your child being a bit more autonomous. So you know that when they had this app that has two sides, the child side, well, I'm saying the child, but like the user side, and then the guidance side as well, so the parent side. Well, you're able to see, you're able to give your child, the person with autism, some more freedom, some more autonomy, and this is just a beautiful feeling. So with our designs, you know,
we have someone in the chat who's saying, Ian is saying, currently all UK government's news services have to go through an external accessibility audit. So
yeah, there's in place. It is a requirement, not for prototypes as UX designers do, but once it goes into production, it is a legal requirement to make it accessible for all. Yeah.
Exactly. So very important to this. So back to where we were initially. So pain points, you know, we've done all this research, we've gotten like a set of videos, recordings from users, from different backgrounds, with different levels of experience with tech. So for example, some people were not too familiar with the website, and as well, you know, you want to be able to have different sets of users. You want to have, for example, existing users and also new users, because you want to be able to capture new users and convert them into recurring users in the long term. And existing users, they have their preconceived ideas, they have their ways with the product, and you want to make sure that you understand the pain points that they have with their current experience, because they've been using it more than, well, obviously new users. So it's interesting to get their point of view as well. So based on all of this, these are the pain points that I found out. So the first one is the search bar. So in the task, I asked the audience to search for some family-friendly hotel with activities for children, a dog-friendly place, and some spa amenities for that spa day. The problem is, if you go on the website right now and you try to search for dog-friendly, for example, you don't find any results. However, if you type pet-friendly, boom, you do have a result. And obviously, pet-friendly is the higher category that also includes dog-friendly. But the thing is, you need to put yourself in the mind of the user. So how is a user going to go about searching it? Because when you go on the platform, you don't go with preconceived tags in mind. You don't go like, okay, I need pet-friendly, spa amenity. No, you just think, I need to bring my dog with me. I need to book for a spa, etc., etc. So when you're going to be searching for this, you're going to type dog in the search bar, because this is what you have in mind. And when you see no result, you think that maybe there's no way to select such a filter. So that is one example. So, just asking users to try the platform. This is the kind of thing that you find out. Because when you design it, you think, you've got it all. You've got all the filters. Sure, but users are going to use it differently. They're not going to search the way that you intended them to search. They're going to come with their own ways. So that is one thing. Another thing is static filters. So for example, right here, and that was a funny one. So you can see that I've typed Himalaya. So I've changed the destination. So from the Bahamas all the way to the Himalaya. And I was like, you know what? Let's try and see what they have. And apparently you can book a boat in the Himalaya, or you can do some diving in the Himalaya as well from the filters, which is very interesting because obviously you can't do this in the reality. So why would you clutter the interface with filters that are not contextual? Why would you show those options? So for example, let's just go with Himalaya. And well, it's probably going to show the beach option. So you can have a beach view from the Himalaya, which is also very interesting. So the second thing is for example, have contextual filters. So filters that are going to be relevant to what people are looking for. This one, you don't need to display all of them, but what's going to be displayed is going to be more helpful for the users. Another thing is that was on mobile web, so on the mobile version, the lack of visual hierarchy. So when you look at the mobile web experience, it's just, let me show you. This is what it looks like. Oops. There we go. There we go, filters. So it's just a long list of all the filters that are down here. So just remove this, there you go. And everything here is collapsed. So you'd think, you look at it, and this, for example, air conditioning has the same weight as reservation policy. Yet reservation policy is a category that has more options in it, while this is just one of the filters available. So, when you go through that list, it all looks the same. So you don't really have any visual cues that help you guide your decision towards which filters you want to toggle. So on mobile, you're going to miss on a lot of options. So that is another issue. So when I ask people to do this task, they would just not be able to find what I asked them. So most of the time, the journeys were completed, and people are like, I'm not sure how to find something that is kids friendly, for example, or I'm not sure how to find something that is this. Great. And we're talking about Trivago. So that's millions of users every single day. So the numbers are very big. Another thing is the sorting used, which is right here. You have, it's alphabetical sorting over multiple columns. So this is what it looks like. There you go. Oh, sorry. There you go. There. So you have, for example, you have business, deck, free, halal, hotel, bar. So it goes like this. You have your alphabetical order over 2 columns. So, your eye is going to be just like dancing around while trying to perform the task, which puts some strain on you, when you're doing that search. And then from an accessibility point of view, I've looked at the first pain point, which was the voiceover. So voiceover is a feature on your computer whereby you can have all the options on the screen read to you by the computer's assistant. And it will just go, the idea is, what is the order in which those options are going to be read? Because you're going to have to make a decision based on those options. So the problem that I notice here is, it starts off with popular filters, then you have the search bar that is after it. So the idea is this search bar right here, in the way that it's positioned, looks like it's only searching within that specific category, which is popular filters. Another thing is, a bit about numbers. So according to the WHO, on a global scale, we have at least 2.2 billion people that have some sort of vision impairment or blindness. And those are the users that would use such a thing. So it's not, that much of a minority, it's something that we really need to think of and to be aware of. Another thing was color contrast. So that one was not too dramatic, but you want to make sure that, for example, the word activities on the background as it wasn't could be a little bit more legible from a choice of colors. It wasn't too dramatic here, but in some instances, you want to make sure that it stands out. So for example, when you see those beautiful buttons where you have like a blue button and then you have some white text on it, well, this is not as accessible as people would think. It looks good, but it's not as accessible. So if you have, for example, yeah.
We have a question about this actually as well. And how much does this also rely on the kind of brand guidelines that you're being given? You know, I'm assuming you don't have complete free reign in terms of picking colors and making sure, obviously they need to be accessible, but you also have this other pull from, you know, whoever you're working with, right?
Sure, and that's why usually when you want to build a brand guidebook, you know, you want to make sure that you check for accessibility at this stage, and that's why you need to make sure that all of it has been checked for accessibility. That's the first thing. So it's the other way around actually.
Okay.
And if from user experience you find out that something is not accessible or something, the color contrasts are not good, this is where you should go back to brand and say, maybe this hasn't been checked for accessibility, but this is what the testing has shown. And we may want to think about it and we can find a better way to increase the contrast. And at this point, we would need, for example, to update the brand guidelines or tweak a little bit the color contrast for it to work better. So again, even if we have brand guidelines, you know, we have our design system that has all the truth about how design works for the product. Well, this is also an evolutive process. Just like Stephanie mentioned about the infinite loop, it is true. Everything, even if it's brand guidelines, everything is meant to evolve because the product is going to evolve in time, users are going to evolve in time. So brand guidelines, although it is very solid, these are the foundations with which you should build your design to make sure that it's consistent across all products. It will need to be updated if there is a need for it.
I also tell my students always to start, when they start with wireframes, I tell them to start in grayscale, to have the contrast right, to test it. And then once they have their interface and the logic of the app and they apply then visual design and colors and stuff, then I tell them to pay attention to check color blindness with some plugins in XD, for example, and things like that.
So you do have the Start plugin, and we're going to see that
of course.
in a bit. Yes.
Yeah. Who doesn't? I tell all my students to download the Start plugin. Even I've also been teaching people internally how to do presentations in XD, and I tell them, imagine there are always people in your audience who are colorblind. You can't tell me there's no one in your audience who isn't colorblind, and they might not be able to read your slide. How sad
exactly.
is this?
Because it doesn't read on your forehead. Like you can't see if a person's colorblind or not. So for example, at the National Lottery, one of my managers is actually colorblind. So, you know, I was doing some work, doing some design, and then he was like, honestly, whatever, for the color for that, whatever, because I'm colorblind, so I don't see the difference. I was like, oh, okay. And I just didn't realize it. This is it. Like people with colorblindness, for example, are all among us. It's something that is natural. It's normal. It's fine. So make sure that you design for everyone.
Exactly.
So, you know, once you find out your pain points, and there might be more, but for this case, you know, you have to focus on some pain points that you want to fix. Well, you generate some what's called how might we questions. So how might we solve those problems, basically? So a few of them are about what I wanted to do here was amp up the good. So how might we make the search feature more noticeable? Because what I noticed is people wouldn't go directly to the search bar. I would, for example, but that doesn't mean that I'm most users. So most of the users actually, when just like scrolling, because it's just the natural behavior. You see a list, you just scroll through the list and try to find what you need from that list. So how can we make it a bit more noticeable? Then amp up the good. So how might we make the search feature more effective? So when you type dog, you want to be able to find something that's pet friendly. How can we, so also exploring the opposite. So how might we make the search filters less cluttered? And finally, remove some of the bad. So how might we improve the filter browsing experience as a whole? And this is where we bring out the post-its. And yes, you don't have any designers without their set of post-its. And this is how I've done a little bit of consulting here, which is a small exercise in UX, whereby you try to, you know, put some suggestions. So you have your 4 main how might we questions, and then you write down a bunch of suggestions that could be run through a workshop, for example, and each of the participants would be writing down some suggestions on how we could solve this this issue. So you put all of this, and then each of them would just walk to the room and stick on the wall the suggestion under the category where it fits. Then you want to be, so you have two distinctions. You have like what can be done from a desktop perspective and then what can be done from a mobile web perspective. Then what you need to do is prioritize, because you can't do everything at once. You need to make sure that you have your priorities sorted in terms of how you want to run this through and what is a quick win, what is going to have the most impact with the less amount of work possible, and what is going to require a lot of engineering to be able to solve the problem and potentially have less impact or more long-term. So scope considerations and card sorting. So what I wanted to do here was focus on an evolution and not a revolution. I'm not here to redesign the platform. It's been built this way based on so much testing. So they have a lot of things right, which is great. So just taking what's there and slowly evolving it into something that fixes those issues that we've just seen. Obviously, for consistency purposes, you want to be able to match the current design language in place. And finally, well, I was starting off with assumptions and not proven statements. So you need to make sure that what you have as building blocks are assumptions. You do have the analytics that you may have from the business. That's for sure. So you have analytics, which is quantitative data. You have your usability testing, which is qualitative data. And based on all this, you build assumptions. So maybe, this problem occurs because of this. So you're not saying this is a statement. You're just saying this is something that I want to be able to test and validate. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I don't know, until it gets into the hands of the users. So I've redrawn the user flow for that journey. Starting off from the begin advanced search, where you open the more filters pop up. You then go to browse more filters. And then the idea is, what is the mind journey you go through? So can I find what I want? So I want to find something. Can I find it? If yes, great. I select the filter. Do I need more filters? Yes, I do it again. If no, I just exit and I'm happy, I'm satisfied, I'm a happy customer. But if I can't find what I want, because either I scrolled down and I couldn't find the right filters, or I went to the search bar, couldn't find it. So I keep browsing. Can I find what I want? Still can't? Great. Okay, I'm going to try a different method. So I'm going to type some keywords in the search bar. Can I find what I want? No, I still can't find it. So are there any suggestions from the empty state that could be good here to have? So are these suggestions from them say any good? So, if you can't find anything, the problem that we have here is, well, there's no going back from it. So I've typed dog. Well, I can't go anywhere from this. There's no like other options here on the screen that I can quickly select. And it's kind of a dead end, which is something you want to avoid in your journey. So, there's three major aspects. So you have dynamic filters, cleaned up list, single column. So that would be happening here. Then having a richer dictionary of search options would help at this part of the flow. So you try to identify, so this is the flow as a whole, and where can you plug in some fixes to solve this flow overall? So those are the three ones. And then based on this, you prioritize them. And yes, it's not that I don't know how to count. It's just that it's priority 0, 1, and 3. Because the third one is a little bit less priority. So if there was like a priority 2, it would go in the middle, but here it's only priority 3. So you prioritize the amendments, the changes they want to do. And then you start delivering. So I built my components, I built everything, and then I go with the solution. So dynamic filters. So when a user enters a holiday destination and they go to more filters, the idea is, if you go for the Bahamas, you're going to see all the filters that are specific for the Bahamas. They're also going to be using, you have a set of hotels listed on your website. So what is the total set of filters available for all those searches. So based on this, you only show those ones. So filters like skiing wouldn't be shown when you search for something near the beach, for example. The second thing is, that was a big change, which is going from a double column to a single column concept search. So right now you have this double column where you have filters over 2 columns. And what I was suggesting is going away from this and having just one single column. And the reason for that is this. This is what I've observed from user testing. How do people go about searching filters when they have it in this layout? Well, their eyes just wander. They either go left column, then all the way to the right column, or they go in a weird pattern, or they just focus on one single column. But the thing is, regardless of the pattern of discovery that those users have, chances are they're going to be missing a lot of those filters. And this is where, they're not able to find what they want, and they get frustrated and so on. And this is what creates a bad experience when you can't find what you want. Because, when you got a product, you expect it to work. You expect everything to be perfect. You expect that I have something in mind. I want to do this. I want to perform this action. I want to be able to perform it easily. And this is the job of UX. So when you go on a website and everything goes smoothly, it is because you have a bunch of people behind the curtain that have been working on it to make sure that you can have your journey, you can do everything without any problem.
UX is always based on testing and on evidence, because the testing gives us the evidence, and that's how we justify our decisions and how we push our decisions to through CEOs and all that stuff.
Exactly, because as UX designers, we get a lot of pushback because we come up with solutions, and then the key stakeholders might be like, yeah, but I don't like it this way. And instead of just having enforcing your opinion over someone else's, the only way to make it is to remove yourself from the equation and put the users in front. When you say, right, I have done some user testing, and this is how users actually experiment the product. And this is the problem. And this is why this solution here that I have also tested and that performed really well would be the right solution. So it's not a matter of opinion. It's a matter of data and user feedback to push forward those changes.
Exactly.
So a really data-driven approach.
Yeah. And that's where we talk business, right?
And that's why we talk business, exactly. Because, when you look at it this way, you're like, okay, but from a business perspective, what am I getting out of this? Well, if users can go through the whole check-in process faster, well, potentially you're going to have less abandoned journeys. So you're going to have more sales at the end of the day.
Now you're talking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a user, so if I go on another platform, if I'm going on Amazon, for example, and I'm trying to find a product and I can't find it, and I've allocated too much time to the task already, I'm just going to drop and say, you know what, actually, I don't need it. I don't need it that much. Same thing. So you have this balance that you need to maintain, which is how much do I want it versus how much effort am I willing to go through to actually get it. And to be honest, usually it's pretty low. The effort one is pretty low. So people expect to be able to do everything with a lot of ease. So you have to make sure that everything is well balanced so that users have a great experience there. So I went from the 2 columns to a single column one right here. So it's more natural. You just focus on one thing at a time. Your attention is all in this one column, and it improves efficiency of finding the results overall. On top of this, it also frees a lot more space here on the left. So you get to see more visuals, because the visuals are what gets you interested, or what gets you excited about your holiday, because you see a nice hotel on the left. So by hiding everything, especially the first top results, well, you're removing some of that excitement from the user. So, move the filters to the right, especially which is on the prices. So it's fine to just be over the prices and keep, the dream uncluttered and fully visible for the user. Right. Just going to go through a little bit quicker so that we can have some time on XD as well. Same thing on mobile web. I've improved the experience to add little bit more visual hierarchy to make it easier to navigate. So this is what it looks like. So this is before, this is after, and the idea is, it just breathes a little bit more. Also notice how, on mobile, you have the checkboxes on the right, whereas on desktop, they're on the left. So, well, for consistency, I've made sure everything is on the same side. You keep everything consistent. You're in desktop, you have the same experience. You tick your boxes on the left. And another thing that I've suggested also is having a richer dictionary of search terms. So if you if the main keyword is pet friendly. So yes, UX design is not just about visual. It's not just about what you see. So here, for example, it's about having more related search terms available when you want to search for something. So what the user will search for is probably dog, or the variation of it, which is dogs, or cats. And they might not enter friendly, they might enter allowed, authorized, and so on. So you want to be able to associate all those keywords that users may use into one word, into this same search filter, which is pet friendly. And this is why as well, in UX, we also have a branch called UX copywriting, which are language experts that help us designers use the right language to convey the instructions for the users. Because, something very crazy on a call to action button, which is the button where you click to move to perform an action. For example, this done button. You'd be surprised to see how much of an impact a single word change can have. So for example, if you're on the national lottery trying to play the Euro Millions and you want to find your results, in your mind, you have find results. This is the action you want to perform. You're going to look for the action on the screen. So you're going to look for find or any synonym of the word find, because you want a verb in that action. You want to be able to perform the action. So if we had only on the call to action button results, people won't click on it because they're looking for that visual cue, which is find, search, give me anything that gives you this incentive. If they don't find it, even if it says results, they're going to be, and I've tested this, people would just go over and be like, I can't find anywhere where I can find my results. I'm like, it's right here. It says results right in front of you. So yes, in UX, you have a lot of frustration when testing your products, but this is the fun part of it as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's bringing back that business mindset as well. What action are you, because I coming back to more of my background, which is, I guess, social and even ECR, you're thinking, yeah, you get this email and what do you want your audience to do? It's great to create content, but in terms of actual action, then click on here, do this, take this action, get inspired, tag this. So it's funny to see that come across as well in terms of how you look at your audience and how they experience your design. So.
Exactly. And what's showing this? Well, how do I build this? Because it's great. The interface is here. It looks good. It's fine. But how do you actually get to create this? Well, the answer is Adobe XD and Swiss transition moving to Adobe XD.
Stephanie's smile just went all the way. The baby.
Great.
Yeah, it's just like, this product is just a bit more than 3 years old, and I have been doing UX for 10 years. And back in the days, we had like Photoshop, we had InDesign, Interactive, PDF, and all these sort of things to try to test our hypothesis with potential end users. And it was just so painful, but now it's just so much faster. But I'll leave that to you to explain, Julian.
I remember when XD was in beta, like the very early days of XD, and it has gone a very long way. Yeah. And basically, XD is a software where anyone with just an idea can quickly prototype something and test it. So I think what could be fun, because of the time remaining, is a potentially like a 5-minute challenge. So I'm going to put the timer on my phone. I'm going to set it to, for example, five minutes something, and let's see how much we can create in 5 minutes and prototype it and have it right on your phone. So you have this idea. It's all using basic shapes right here. So there's no like wizardry in it. It's simple. It's how you assemble those steps. So I'm gonna those shapes. So I'm gonna put the timer and I'm gonna put it to 5 minutes.
And also to mention that XD has a mobile app, so you can download it on your mobile or tablet and test your prototype.
That's what I'm gonna show. Exactly, that's what I'm gonna show. So not only can you test it, but you can preview it live, so you can see how it looks like directly from your phone as you're designing it on the computer. So anything I'm going to do here, I'm going to be able to see it right on my computer. And yes, I'm tethered right now. But if you want to share this with people, if you want to do some testing, you know how people do feedback forms online and they do the questionnaires and so on. Well, you can just send the link to someone, they download the XD app, and they would be able to download the prototype and test it.
Or you can even work together in the same file through co-editing.
Exactly. So right now, co-editing is in beta version, but watch this space because it is absolutely exciting. So multiple designers will be able to work on the same file together on different screens, etc. So it's or on the same screen at the same time. But so it's really exciting. So let's just go with it. And what I thought is, how about we do, for example, Instagram? Because everybody knows it, everybody uses it. Well, most people use it. So how about we just do we quickly sketch Instagram, and you're going to see how easy it is. So first of all, we want to have our navigation bar at the top. Oops. So we want to have our navigation bar at the top. So something like this. So it's just a basic rectangle shape, and you have the shortcut, which is R to draw a rectangle. So we want to have it 80 pixels. There we go. Then we need the, do I have it somewhere here? No, we want to have the Instagram logo. Okay, let's just do without it for the sake of it.
Just put a placeholder. I always put placeholders. I tell my students to put a placeholder. I just always draw a circle, and then I tell them in the future, you will place your logo there.
Yeah, let's just do it this way. Add a little bit of separator as well. So we're going to add a line. And again, how easy it is. You just type L, it draws a line for you. It's a bit too dark, so let's make it a bit thinner. There we go. Then we want to have, on Instagram, you have the stories. So let's create some stories here. So it's about, say, 50 pixels, for example. So, oh, one sec. Just want to have a second. There we go. Just want to have my grid on. So I'm going to align it to the grid. There we go. So it's at go. Oh, I think it's the, is it on 16? No, it's not. There. That's better. And that one, circle, I'm going to place it at 16. There we go. So basic shape, you know, just a circle for the story. And then we're going to add another one, which is going to be slightly smaller. So let's do, so the first one was, I said 50 pixels. Great. Oops, 50 pixels on both. Second one, I'm going to do it about 42 pixels. There we go. We're going to select both shapes, center it, center, middle. There we go. So you have shortcuts for everything that you want to do. And this one, and look at this. This is where the magic's going to happen. I'm going to use one of the plugins here, which is user profile, fill user with image. Boom. We have a user now. Let's just remove this. We have a user. Let's just group this. Let's add a text layer. So this is going to be user, for example, could be any username. So let's call it username. There we go. It's a bit too big, so let's make it a bit smaller. Great, there we have it. So now we're gonna have this centered. It's still aligned with the grid. No. So we're gonna get both here, aligned with the grid, 16. There. Great, now we have one. Look at this magic. Command R or Control R, and you can just expand.
That's beautiful. So satisfying.
You can just expand it. Well, we want to have different images, right? We don't want to have the same user, for example. So same thing, user profile. Oops, I need to select that one. Plugin, user profile, fill with an image. Generated, done. Why is it the same? I don't know. Let's do UI faces instead. Group's not supported. Oh yeah, because I'm inside a group. There we go. Great. Anyway, you get the idea. So you can just change the faces and have different ones, so on, which is great.
You can also just have the grid selected as such, and then it places images in all of the picture frames.
All right, let's just go with it. Yeah, it doesn't support the group. Anyway, so this is so now we have our stories here. Next, we want to have the posts, obviously. So let's create another section. So we have, for example, the small ellipse here, so about 30 pixels. There we go. Let's have also a user image in it. So UI face, apply.
Speaking of filter options in UI faces, huh?
Yes.
On the left-hand side, we can see all your filter options.
True. See, transition, perfect. So let's go with 12. Oops. Oops. Let's go with 12. Select both. Oops. This and this. Middle, there we go. So now we have this, and we want to create a picture, beautiful picture. This is going to be full screen. So this is going to be a user post, for example. There we go. We have one. Same thing, plugin, Unsplash, random image.
Stopped you a little bit, so keep going.
Yeah. So let's say,
We
for
nudged
example,
you.
beach. Or let's go with the stock image instead. So let's go beach. So this is going to browse stock images, and let's check. Oops. Let's check this one. Apply. There we go. Let's remove the grid here. Vortex. There we go. And now let's get all of this together. Repeat the grid, and same thing. Magic happens here. And at a glance, right now what I can do is quickly open the prototyping feature. So you can design, prototype, and share it within one app. So there we have it. So again, click on the prototype, and there we go. And obviously, if I open it from my XD app, I have it as well. Don't know if we can see it on the screen, but same thing, you have it there. But the thing is, we want to have the story swipeable. So let's just duplicate the artboard and move this like this to the left and create a transition. So let's switch to prototype. We're going to click on this, click here, and we're going to do, for example, drag. Transition is going to be scroll to, and then we're going to do the same one here. So click on that element. We're going to move it to that artboard, and we're going to do the same thing. So drag, scroll to, for example, and that's it. So we have them both. And if I just click here and I just, oops.
You need to leave auto animate as the type of action.
Oops, my bad. Where is it?
No worries. That's what I'm here for.
My bad. Auto animate. And that's the beauty of lines. Everything can go wrong.
Now you need to drag the wire over to the other artboard.
But it was.
Yeah, select this one. Yeah, and drag it over to the other artboard, and then choose drag as the trigger.
Auto animate and drag. Yeah, had done it. Weird.
And now it should work.
Yeah, and the other way around, because we want to be able to go back as well. So let's do it again. Auto animate, drag. That works great. So let's just prototype it quickly. And if we, there we go. So we can drag them. So we have our stories. We have everything here, and that's it. Like in just 5 minutes, you have on your phone like a skeleton of the Instagram app. After this, we can just change using the plugins. We can just change any of those images to make it look a bit more lively. And that's it. You have the ability to do this, but you'd think that's it. But we're moving towards a world where it's all about voice. So, we have interface on here, but you can control it with your own voice. And well, you have the option with XD, and that's the only of the design tools out there that has it, which is the voice. So you can use your voice to perform certain action in your interface. So let's just create a new artboard, for example. So let's go back to design. Artboard, let's do an iPhone, for example. There we go. And create just a quick shape here. Let's do like a login button. So let's do your gradient. Colors are pretty bad, but it's not about this right now. So let's just do a grayscale.
Let's keep it grayscale. Wireframe.
Exactly. Okay, in that case, let's just keep it all grayscale. So solid color, it's going to be something gray like this. And then we're going to have some text on it. So log in. Let's make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Let's center middle. There we go. Oh, problem is for contrast, let's do something like this. This one, let's have it white. So, there we go. And then have another screen where you have just a label on it, which is going to be congrats. And okay, so let's make it a bit bigger like this. Black. Let's have this one in the center. So there we go. So we have two of those here. We're just going to quickly prototype. So let's click on this here, the login button. go here and we just click on voice. And the command that we want to use is login. So now I'm going to prototype it. And what you need to do is press on the space bar to activate the voice command. So I press on space and I say login. Congrats.
And you can also you can put the voice playback on the other artboard, right? So it reads it out for you in case someone is blind and can't read it. So
exactly. So what I'm going to do here is say congrats.
I think you don't need this one. You just need you just need a time
speech playback. Yeah.
No, you need to select the artboard instead of the text. Yeah, and this one is because then you have as a trigger you have the time transition in the top, so it speaks automatically.
That should work. I'm gonna try from my phone because for the sound purpose. So login.
I think you need to put the time transition. Yeah, the trigger.
Let's try, and we're going to have to wrap it up.
Yeah, this one, see on top the trigger, see the trigger at the very top?
Yeah.
Yeah, set that to time. Yeah.
All right, and I'm also going to add a tap transition to that one. There we go. So okay, some reason the sound doesn't want to go out. But yeah, basically what it would do is it would just read out the content for the user. So this way you can follow on what's happening on the screen. So it's, again, very good for accessibility.
Thanks, Julian. We'll have to discover that a little bit more as well next time because we're running out of time already.
Yeah.
And I know Stephanie could keep going as well. You were so delighted to have Julian, and I was as well. So thank you so much for your insights into your UX and UI world. Folks in the chat, let us know if you want to see some more of this. But thanks, Stephanie, and thanks, Julian, for that.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Tomorrow we'll be joined for a bit of a special stream as well. We'll have 2 guests, so even more entertainment. You'll be in for a treat. And have a great day, everyone, and see you all tomorrow.
Thank you, Julian. Thanks, community. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.